This conference will now be recorded.
Okay. So yesterday we have learned about creating branches and protecting the branches by enabling the branch policies. Now you know how to create a branch, right? It is as simple as going to menu and create a new branch, and you need to select the parent branch, and then you know how you protect by enabling the branch policies, and you learn pull request in detail. Okay, and rest of the things you already know it. Okay, now you only know one scenario, that is a team with a couple of people and they don't have many releases, probably only one release, they are going to close that one. That's the release. That's the reason we went with what is a development isolation branch. You have only one development branch, one master branch, that's it. Okay, but in if you're working for any complex project, right, it may take 10 releases, 15 releases as well, isn't it? Okay, each release, in some companies, each sprint is a release. In some companies, they what they do, they work for 3 4 sprints, or and then they will say release one basically. They say three release, each three releases, sorry, each sprint 1, sprint 2, sprint 3 will be one release. Sprint 4, sprint 5, sprint 6 will be second release. That means each release contains 3 sprints work. So it depends basically. It depends on the project manager and the team and the type of the project they're working. You don't need to worry about it. So here the point is that when you are having more number of releases in your project, what branching strategy you need to follow basically. Okay, before we get into that one, do you remember why we need a branches? Why do we need to create branch? Because anyways, your source control management system is having all this versioning. You can go back to any version if you want to go, and uh, I mean, you have the history. You don't need to worry about anything about losing the changes, etc. But why are we doing, or why are we creating branches here? And why do we need a branching strategy? Forget about branching. Why are we creating the branches? Any idea? I told you one time, but
If we have a different set of releases for, if there are five changes that need to go on one release and three changes that need to go on the next release, then we can't implement all the changes on the same branch. We need to have different branches for to avoid code complexities and all.
okay, that is one. There is one more important one as well. Okay, you cannot have a, if you don't have a proper branching strategy, what happens? Or if you don't have multiple branches for development and for release, etc., what happens? You never have a stable branch. Basically, stable means, let us say, what happens if you are having only master branch? You deployed code into some environment after your changes, and you continue work on some other sprint changes while the testers are testing the sprint one changes. What happens? As soon as they find a bug, they will raise it, and you have to work on the same branch again. Now what happens? You are working on some new feature development, and you need to work on the bug as well. Then uh, maintaining or maintaining your new code and bug fixing code is very tough. You spend a lot amount of time. Of course there are ways to preserve your current uh, new development code in git, and continue to work on bug fix code, and give only bug fix code for the development, that we can achieve. But what happens, you are spending a lot amount of time here. The whole idea of buying any tool is improving the developer productivity. Means if you are manually doing something, if it takes 3 hours per day, If you go and buy a tool, you have to spend hardly 5 minutes or 10 minutes on that one, because you are working using a tool basically. So that is another intention. The another point here is that if you are having only one branch or two branches, the number of merge conflicts will be higher when you have more team members. Imagine in our development and master development isolation strategy. So you have a development branch and master branch. Okay, and imagine there are 10 people working on the same project. So every day, 10 people are pushing their changes from the development branch to the master branch. How many merge conflicts will come? Do you imagine? There will be n number of merge conflicts. Let us say you developer one developed, created 100 lines of code. Developer two made 50 lines of code. Developer three made some 150 lines of code. It is possible in a day. When they try to merge or push their changes to master, everyone gets a merge conflict, and they end up spending 4 or 5 hours every day and resolving the merge conflicts only, because they need to debate, right, which code is right, which one to be taken, which one not to be taken, etc., while they are resolving the merge conflicts. You got me? So these are the issues that can be addressed by using a proper branching strategy. Okay, so let's come to here. So these are some popular branching strategies that we follow in Git actually. So as I said, there is no golden rule for branching strategy. So people will have to select a branching strategy based on the following factors. One, number of people in your team. There is no specific number of people, and the type of project they are working. Development, is it a simple API based development or simple UI only? Such kind of, such kind of, or there are n number of components in your project, like middleware development, API development, and UI development, and there are many teams for, let us say, related, some components related to Pega, some components related to Salesforce, like that, some components related to data science, like that. So it depends on the type of the project you are working, number of people, number of releases, and post production issues. Based on all these factors, you need to define a branching strategy. And uh, let me tell you, it's not a DevOps engineer responsibility, it's not an architect responsibility, it's a collective responsibility, because DevOps engineer doesn't know each and everything what a team will do. He's only responsible for administering the repositories, administering the requirements, administering the CI/CD, creating the CI/CD, etc. And these guys, development guys, they don't know what strategies could be there, and how to create, etc. So you need to work collectively, basically. Okay. So the very popular branching strategy is a feature branching strategy. So this will be used when you are working on a microservices based projects, basically. So what is a microservice? I give you a quick example. Okay. uh, right now, if you take our requirements, right, you have a search for hotels, book for hotels, book hotels, search hotels, and then book trains, and then you have a cabs, etc., right? Okay, whenever you are developing a requirement, okay, uh, there are a number of ways to do the coding. That means, what some people do, they simply create a one class file, let us say, uh, search.cs. In that, they will keep all the functionalities related to search hotels, book hotels, etc. Okay, if that is the type of coding methodology people follow, that is a kind of monolithic, basically. That means what happens, you have all the code in one single class file, if you want to make some modifications to search for trains functionality, you will only do modifications to search for trains functionality only. There will be some method for that. But testers have to test the entire code, right? You need to deploy it, and the testers have to test all the functions again, search for hotel, search for trains as well, because they don't know which one is changed. And developer might have unconsciously affected other features functionality as well. That's the reason what people will do. People follow microservices based development. That means they will have a one project separately for you know what is a search for trains, one project for search for cabs, one project for search for hotels, etc. Everything will be under the same solution, but they divide it like that. So what is the advantage of that? If you have a different project, you can have a different CI/CD pipeline. That means they don't need to wait for the changes of other people. If everything is in one file, they have to wait for everyone to complete their changes, then only they can deploy it. If everybody, every feature has their own, here feature means a functionality not related to our work item, like feature epic, etc. Okay, it's just a functionality basically. Okay, so if you are working you have one single project that is for search for trains, that's it, you complete it in 1 or 2 days and you go for a deployment. In future, if some changes comes in, you will do your coding only in that project. That means you are not affecting other people. So when you are having this microservices based project, we will create a feature branching strategy. We will follow feature branching. That means for every work item that you have in your Azure boards, we will create a branch that will contain all the code. But in your branch, you will work on only your changes basically. No one else will be using your branch basically. That means if Kiran is working on search for trains, I'll create a branch called user slash Kiran slash search for trains. So you have your entire code. If Lohit is working on search for hotels, then I will create another branch, user slash Lohit slash search for hotels. Like that, I'll keep on creating the feature branches. Okay, and of course you will have master branch, etc. That is as is. Okay, and when we so you do development in your feature branching strategy. In your feature branch, once you are done with your changes, obviously you will create a pull request that will go to the master branch. But when we have to give for CIs, I mean deployment, right? We don't do the deployment from the master branch. We always create one more branch from the master, that you call it as a release branch. Means that you can say release 1, release 2, release 3. Naming convention is up to you, but definitely there will be term called release in that one. Okay, from the release 1, 2, 3 branches, DevOps engineer will do the deployment. Why I need to create one more branch from master and say release 1, 2, 3, etc. The reason, if you don't create a release 1, release 2, release 3, etc., after 3 4 releases, or after 2 3 releases, you really don't know visually, or with end-to-end traceability as well, you really don't know which features went to which release, etc. And of course you will come and spend some time, you will identify it, but it will take more time basically. Okay, that's the reason we will create release 1, release 2, release 3. And one more advantage, when you deploy release 2 and somehow release 2 failed, you need to roll back to the previous version. Then what happens, you can simply use the code in the release 1 and deploy it. If you don't have that kind of branching strategy, release 1, 2, 3, etc., you have to go to the master and identify what are all the features you delivered in release 1. It's not easy, because while people are working on release 2, there are n number of changes to master as well via pull request. How do you know which features you delivered in release 1 if you don't have a separate branch for release 1? You getting me? Make sense?
Yeah,
Guys,
yes, good.
okay. So one simple funda, when you are working on microservices based project, use feature branching strategy. For each work item you basically create a branch. Okay. And team branching strategy. What is
Purna,
this? Yeah.
I have a doubt. See, if you create all these branches, release branch, master branch, and all the sub branches,
Hmm.
so do you have any system to identify immediately, like whether where what change happened? Because as you told, if these many branches are there, how a developer or as a DevOps engineer, like even if developer asks us, uh, we'll be able to tell him immediately, like this is the thing, this is the change. Is there any mechanism?
No, you have the history, right? See, one, you
Yeah,
have the history, and the other
yeah,
one is you are linking the work items as well. When you create a branch, you are linking the work items. When you create a pull request for the code review, you are linking the work item. Okay. You don't need to explain anyone because you already set up the mechanism there. Okay. They cannot create a pull request without associating the work item. Okay. In future when people come back and see, they really know what work items are developed in that branch, right? Because you enable that branch policy,
branch
saying that
policy.
yeah, you must assign work item when you create a pull request, or when you create a branch you basically assign associate work items as well. Okay, so it will help the teams what is being done in which branch basically. Okay, they can go and see it.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah. Team branching strategy. So unlike feature branching strategy, microservices, as I said, okay, each work item will have a branch. In team branching strategy, so it is another one. In few companies, in few scenarios, we need it. That means in your code base, right, is being used in your team. There are, let us say, in your project, there are multiple teams. uh, one team is working on, let us say, related to some middleware. That could be your Pega, or it could be Salesforce. They might be developing some connectors. One team might be working on related to some search functionality. There are many tools like Redis, Elastic Cache, etc., ELK, etc. They might be developing some components or some features for the your search functionalities, etc. Okay, or preserving the changes. There might be some team who is working on purely on the UI. There might be some team who is purely working on let us say some database connectors or database development. All these things within the same solution, right? You definitely do not maintain different solutions. They might be in the same solution but different projects. Okay, so and they may not be following microservices, whatever it is. Okay. In that case, what we do, we will create a one branch per team. Okay, this branch is for Pega team, middleware team. This branch is for API team. This branch is for UI team, like that. Okay, so the way of creating branch doesn't change, but it is the only the way changes. I mean, uh, it is about how many branches you are creating and for what purpose you are creating. This is what we change basically. Okay, this is all about thought process. Sorry, one second. I think it came out. Okay, and the other one is release branching. I just explained. Whether you are using a feature branching strategy or team branching strategy, you need to apply release branching strategy. That means never give or never do deployment from your master branch. Always create a release branch and do the CI/CD pipeline from there. Because so that in future, if you want to roll back to some another release version, then you can simply roll back to that version because you have a branch for each release as well. Okay, that is a funda. And hotfix branching strategy. Okay, so whenever a bug comes, once you, let us say, you basically done with release 1, release 2, and you are working on release 3. But suddenly, while users are working, utilizing the application, they found some bug basically. Some issue is happening. Because of that issue, they are not able to use the application. And the issue has come from the release 1 code actually, not in the release 2. It is pretty much possible, right? People find bugs, after a long time as well. They might have found some bug in the release 1 branch or release 2 branch. In this case, developers should not go and you know let us say first is first. If they go and do the bug fixing in their own development branch or feature branch, what happens? They have to merge that code all the way from their feature branch to dev branch to master, and master to release, and release to production basically. It takes a hell lot of time. Okay. And other one is, you are basically changing the content in the release branch. Okay, but I locked it, because at any point of time, if you want to roll back to some previous branch, uh, I need to have that release 1 branch, release 2 branch stable basically. I am changing that release branch if I am doing bug fix code in the downstream systems, downstream branches. So instead, what I do, I create another branch from the release 1 branch, because the issue had come from the release 1 code. I create a branch from release 1 branch, and name it as a hotfix basically. You can give any name basically, hotfix search issue, and you can give the username as well. Naming convention can be anything. Your naming convention is all about how easily you can identify the branch basically, who did it, for what purpose they did it, etc. Okay. So if you are creating a branch for fixing bugs that come on the fly, then you call it as a hotfix branching strategy. What is the advantage of this one? You are reducing number of merges that are required for the code review, and you will be able to deliver your bug fix code quickly, because your release 1 is already stable. You are creating a copy of release 1 branch and making and naming it as a hotfix branch, and then giving the code fix. That means you don't need to worry what is been happening in the current development basically, because the current development code is not in your release 1 branch, that is in your development branch or feature branch basically. Okay. And in future also, everybody is having a very clear cut visibility, hey, in which release people have bugs, and how many bugs are there. That kind of traceability will also be there. Okay. So these are the 4 different branching strategies that most of the companies in the world utilizes. See guys, most of the times they may not know the branching strategy name, but it will fall into one of these strategies. Okay. Now let me show an example. Okay. This is a feature branching strategy flow basically. Okay. It may look complicated, but don't worry, I'm explaining now itself. Okay. So trunk is nothing but your master here. Okay. Earlier I was telling you, some people may call it trunk, some people call it main, some people call it master, but it is always a stable version. Okay. Trunk is here, and you have A, B, C, D, E, F, G, H, etc. These are some kind of milestones you can think of. And you have feature 1 branch and feature 2 branch, and then you have CI/CD pipeline here. Okay. Let me explain the flow here, how it works in your real life world, right? Okay. So whenever you start with, obviously you will have a master branch, right? Whenever you start with any project, Git automatically creates a master branch when you when you push your code to remote repository or in the local repository. So if you are following microservices based development, right, obviously what happens, you create a branch from master. You see, you create a branch from master, and you name it basically. The naming convention can be defined by your teams basically. Okay. It can be username slash feature name slash some date or whatever it is. It depends on the uh, your team decision naming convention. So you created a branch and you named it as a feature one, and you can think of it as a point A basically, just for our understanding purpose. Okay. And at the same time, there are other developer who is working on other feature as well. Okay. uh, that's the reason you created another branch and you call it as a feature 2 branch, point B you can say. Okay. After that, after some time, let us say a couple of days or at the end of the sprint, the developer one completed his feature 1 branch. He needs to give it for testing, or he needs to give it for deployment. Okay. Then what he has to do, he has to merge the code of feature 1 branch with master branch, because master contains always all the code, right? And from here, so that's the reason you see merge the code with the master. Okay. And from here, the basically the DevOps engineer, whoever it is, they will create a branch for the release actually. Because as I told you, you should not use master branch for releases or coding, etc. It is just a master which contains always a stable code. Okay. And now you create a branch called release branch, it is point D. Okay. And after some time, if there are any issues in the while you are working on some other sprint 2, etc., testers may find some issues. And So what happens, you basically do the bug fix in the release branch, and you give it for a deployment. Once that is tested successfully, what you have to do, whatever is the bug fix code developed in this release branch, how to be merged with the master branch, right? If it is not merged with the master branch, what happens, uh, this code will not be available in other branches, child branches like feature 1 and feature 2. If they are not available in feature 1 and feature 2, what happens, when you go to release 2, you will again find the same bug in regression basically, because the whatever is the bug fix code is here is not available in other child branches. It is there only in the master branch. So in regression, you will find the bugs. Okay, that's the reason if you see, even after feature 1, even before the bug fixes, etc., the code is merged back to feature 2. You see, from feature 1, the code is here, and from trunk, now trunk contains feature 1 code as well. It is merging back to feature 2, because if you don't have the feature 1 code in the feature 2 branch, what happens? Again, they will get into some regression issues, or they will miss the functionality of feature 1. As I told you, whether it doesn't matter how many branches you are creating, every branch contains the complete code, okay, along with your changes. So you do not want to miss anybody's bug fix code or anybody's functionality in your branch base. That's the reason every time uh, 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 you have to merge the code from master branch to other branches, or whenever there is a bug fix code in release branch, that have to be merged with this master branch, and then that have to be merged back to feature 1, feature 2, feature 3. How many branches are there, you see here. I'm merging back to child branches as well, from release branch bug fix code to master branch, and moving all that bug fix code to other branches as well, to avoid the regression issues. And this process follow. Feature 3 development completed, they merge it back to master branch. Okay. And and then there were some minor changes, they made some changes. Okay. After that, they given release 2. Once release 2 is completed successfully for testing, they can merge it back to feature 2 along with minor changes. And it continue. I just given some flow. All you need to understand is that whenever there is a change in release 1 or release 1 release 2 branches, or in hotfix branch, you have to merge it back to the master branch, and from master branch you have to uh, make it available to all the child branches, feature 1, feature 2, or team branches, etc. Otherwise you will run into regression issues. Okay, you need to make it mandatory. Okay. So for that purpose also, I mean, you don't need to create a pull request as well. There are many other ways. As a DevOps engineer, yeah, I mean, you can move the changes from release branch to master, master to feature branches as well. Not via pull request. There are some other ways for an administrator, basically, not for everyone. I will explain that tomorrow. But for today, you just need to understand this one. This is how you see. This is all about creating branches and merging the changes between different branches. This is a part of life cycle of your code management, basically. Guys, is it confusing, or are you following the lines? Basically, you need to think about the scenarios. Basically, hey, you are developing a code, you given the release for deployment from the release one branch, and after that you got the bug fix. You need to fix that bug, you need to develop the code for bug fixing, and you did it in release branch or a hotfix branch. But that code is only available here. This code is available. If this code is not available in feature 1 branch or feature 2 or feature 3, when they merge their code with again master, what happens? This doesn't contain the bug fix code what is being developed here. Now when tester test it, the same bug will come. For that, you need to merge that code back to all the other branches as well. So this scenario you need to keep in mind. Whenever there is a bug fix happens in other branch, you need to ensure that that code is available in all other branches. Make sense?
Purna, one question.
Yeah.
So let us assume we will have a trunk branch initially, and
Hmm.
we will create two branches, feature one and feature two, to
Right.
work on features.
Right.
And by the time of release, we will create a release branch from the trunk branch, and we
Right.
will merge the changes of feature one and feature two on the release branch,
Right.
and that will be deployed onto the deployment process.
Correct.
Okay. And once the deployment is done, and when we need to start working on the new stories for the upcoming release,
Hmm.
so this release branch should be merged into the trunk branch to have the latest code, right?
Uh, the release branch have to be merged with the trunk if there are any bug fixes in the release branch. If there are no changes in the release branch, then you don't need to merge it back, because
But if
both are
we are
same.
into the no,
Hello?
Purna. Be- Hello.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
But we haven't merged any changes from feature one and feature two branch onto the trunk branch earlier.
But you are giving the release, okay, only after you completed developments, right? Feature one, so if you are microservice based, feature one can alone go for a deployment, feature two can alone go for deployment, feature three can alone
Yeah, but
go for
trunk
deployment.
branch
Yeah.
need to be updated, right?
What is it?
Trunk branch need to be updated.
Yeah, yeah. So when you have to give a uh, uh, give a deployment for testing purpose, you need to merge this feature one branch with master. From master we create a release branch.
Okay,
Okay,
okay.
now you deploy it, the testers will go and test it.
Okay, so you mean we take it from the trunk branch. When we're done with the deployment, we push the changes back to the trunk branch, and from the trunk branch, we will create a new release branch.
Correct, correct. This is the flow,
Okay,
like this. Okay. And why, if you look into this release branch arrow, right, from point G, why I am making merge to trunk again? The reason, I had to do some bug fixing here in the release. You see, hot fix basically. uh, when I did a hot fix in my release branch, what happened? A new code is developed, right? That new code is not available in master. Okay.
yes.
Yeah, if it is not available in master, in future, I say, in all the times what where we are going to create release branch, your release branch base parent will be master. Okay, from master, when you create a release to branch, you are missing this hotfix branch if you don't merge it here. That means in regression, the testers will find that bug again, right? Because this hotfix branch is code is not here. That's the reason you need to ensure that whenever there is any bug fix happens here, they need to merge it with the trunk, and they
Okay.
need to merge that with other child branches as well. What happens sometimes, you have it in master, okay, but not in feature 3 branch. What happens, feature 3 branch will merge it here, or
Okay.
so now code is there, but he did not test the bug fix code along with his code actually. You got me? Then it may give some other errors. You can, what do you say, it's a kind of recursion, I mean, chain of issues. Basically, this guy created some bug fix, it works for him, but it might have created some other issues with other person's code actually. It's pretty much possible, right? That's the
Yeah.
reason the code has to be available to other branches as well, like feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, so that they do a combined testing. Oh, I have some new bug fixing code, I need to verify if that code make any problem with my code as well. So that's the reason you need to make this code available in all other branches as well, like this hotfix branch. That's the reason you see arrows always. You see merge here, and then you see a merge to feature 2, you see a merge to feature 3 as well. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's all about branching and merging, creating branches, applying branch policies, and ensuring that code is becoming available in all other branches. It is a, very good administration activity. If the administrator is not good, that's it. That's where people find many regression bugs. You see, in many companies, people get many regression bugs. The reason, they don't follow a proper branching strategy. If they follow a proper branching strategy and they follow proper governance, you don't find a regression bug because you don't miss the code. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. So you can spend some time on this one. Basically, I mean, reading this one, take some scenario and read it, whatever I'm telling you, right? So it will be, fixed in your mind. Don't worry about all these arrows. The arrows are there for merging only, because there were some changes. So if you see here, I did not create a hotfix branch here. I am directly doing a bug fix in the release branch. This is not a good process, because if you're working on a product, right? Let us say you take Windows. They've been doing that coding since more than 20 years, right? Isn't it? And every year they will have one version, right? At least, or there will be many patches as well. There will be many new features as well. Okay, let us say we are using Windows 10. uh, I mean, from the last 2 years, right? So it's been 2 years, but every month or so you get some patches, right? How do they maintain? So they will have one main branch and they will also have the release branch, and they will also have a hotfix branch or patch branch. Basically, they will maintain all those things. When they maintain all this patch branch or hotfix branch, etc., they will have a clear visibility in which month what patch is been released, in which month what bug is released. And there might be some cases for a particular customer, they are getting some issue, they may need to give a release for them as well. So depends on the complexity of a project, your branching strategies will change basically. So very simple, your branching strategy should help you to clearly identify what issues have been happened in which branch, what features are delivered, sorry, in what release, and reducing the merge conflicts, and ability to go back to the previous version if something goes wrong in the current version of the code. These are the important benefits or requirements of your branching strategy. Okay.
Okay.
Yeah.
One doubt.
Yeah.
What is the difference between feature branching and release branching?
So release branch is only for the release. In this release, okay, you might be sending uh, the feature branch code, one code, feature two branch code, feature three branch code as well, right? Let us say sprint one, three developers are working on three different features. Let us say hotel, cab, and train. Hotel is code is happening here, train is code is happening here, and cab code is happening here. In the same release, all those functionalities may go, right? So your release
Yeah.
branch code contains all that code, but your feature
Okay.
branch code contains only feature 1 code, feature 2 code, feature 3 code, like that. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. So let's get back. I know I spent some good amount of time here because it is very important for you to understand the advantages, disadvantages, and why do you need a branching, etc. Creation of branch doesn't take much time, right? dev.azure.com. Now, if you are following a feature branch strategy, right, this is how it looks. Okay, what I do, sorry, I'll go to the branches directly. If I'm following a feature branch strategy, I simply create like this. Generally, guys, I mean, in many companies, what people do, they don't create a feature branch from the master uh, to keep it always, stable. They create a development branch. From development branch, people create a feature branches basically, extra caution basically. Okay.
So master to dev and from dev to features.
Exactly. That's how they follow. Because you just asked me this question, right? What release will contain, what feature will contain. Release contains all the features that are developed in a release, basically, in a sprint, right? Or in a couple of sprints. So what happens if you are directly doing it on the trunk, right? You are not basically doing a system integration testing or integration testing. The testing based on feature 1, feature 2, feature 3, etc. Okay, it depends on the complexity of the project. I mean, if you think that there are not much overlaps between these features, that's okay, you can directly do it. But if you think there is some overlap between these feature 1, feature 2, feature 3 functionalities, then probably it is a good idea to create a dev from trunk, and then from dev you create all these features. So you leave it, you will be part of these discussions. You explain and you give some of these options, and the development team will figure it out. Okay. Now if you are working on a feature, I mean micro based development, right? You create a dev branch from master. For to keep it clear, I skipped basically dev here. Okay. Now go and create a branch, and feature branch, right? I would say uh, I'll start with this naming convention: user slash feature name slash project name. Our project name is already there. We'll keep it. Okay. I'll say Kiran slash uh, slash will not work. Let me see the dot. Dot also doesn't work.
Underscore will work.
Hyphen is also working. Okay. Hyphen. I'll say try search, and then I would say probably I'll give it release 1 as well. It is just for identification. Okay. Dev is parent, and associate the work items as well. Go and search for the train. Okay. So search for trains. You associate this task as well. Train search. Okay. Create. What is some error? Branch is created, but work item links could not be added. Oh, you remember in our Azure boards we added that custom control, right? Because of that we had some issues. You remember? Uh,
Yeah. Yes.
I think that so what I do, I'll associate some other rather than task, right? I think we added in the task. Okay, because of that that work item is not linked with this. Okay, you can search verify that basically. Okay, we can see that now. Feature one branch, let me create another branch, and I'll say this Lohit hyphen it'll say cap search one, or you can just print one whatever it is, and it is from the dev branch, and I'll say cap cab management. Okay, that is a feature just for understanding progress I had associated. It is added because for task only we added that control, I guess. Okay, the features are created now. Simply understand the flow. When Kiran done with his code changes, he will merge his changes to the dev via pull request. You need to enable the branching policies, and from dev to master. Okay, and the release or deployment will happen not from master. You have to create a release branch. Okay, for that you will create some, you again you can follow some naming convention. I would say for the timing I'll say release one, and it happens from the master. You can again associate the work items here. Basically, let us say in this release both the cab is going on, and then and as well as train is going on. Okay, like this is for end-to-end traceability. Okay, now release one is done. Okay, now the CI/CD pipeline or CD pipeline will, you don't need a CI here. CI is required only on the feature branch and dev branch and the main branch. Release one you don't need a CI. CI is more is for the code analysis basically. CD for the deployment. We'll talk about it when we go there. Now release one is there. Okay, in so the testers will keep on testing the changes based on the release one code. Okay, and developers will go ahead and work on other other code base. Let us say this time Kiran is will work on let's say hotel search, and this is released to, again based on dev branch basically, right? And you associate work some work items called what I say, this is a hotel, right? What we given hotel, you associated the work items hotel, yeah, something product backlog I associated like this. Where okay, while Kiran is working on this branch release to branch for hotel search, sorry, uh, this feature branch for hotel search, if they find any bug, right, the better way to handle the bug fixes when your project is spanned across multiple years or months, right, to create a bug fix branch from the release branch. So testers found some bug in the release one code, then the better suggestion is go ahead and create some hotfix branch. Let us say Kiran hotfix, and then let's say try and search release one. So it is easy to okay, whenever someone looks at, oh, Kiran has worked on this hotfix branch, which is for a bug fixing purpose, and that feature is try and search, which is in the release one. That's how people can understand. Now create it from the release one. Yes, say try and search. Or they might have created some bug, you can associate the bug. I don't have bug, right? That's why it is not identified. If there is a bug also, the bug item will appear here basically. We'll see that. Okay, create. Now this guy in hotfix branch, where is that? Where is that a hotfix branch? Yeah, here. So better thing, I guess, hotfix have to be in the front actually, so that people can easily read it. In your naming convention, keep this hotfix in the uh, start of the name basically. Similarly, here I given Kiran hotel search, right? You can name it as a feature hyphen Kiran. That means you are following feature branching strategy. Follow a good branching strategies basically. Okay. When Kiran completed his hotfix branch code, he has to take the code. I mean, DevOps engineer has to take this hotfix branch code and merge it with the master, merge it with the release, merge it with other branches as well. As simple as that. But as I said, a DevOps engineer need not go through the pull request mechanism because you are not a developer. There are other ways to take the code from hotfix branch simply and merge it with other branches. It's a kind of copy paste. The way you do a copy paste in your files or documents, I can do that kind of copy paste in other branches as well. Okay, that mechanism I will show you tomorrow because that takes some time. Okay. I'll tell you now itself. You call it as a cherry pick actually. Okay, there is an operation called cherry pick. We use that cherry pick, so it helps the DevOps engineers or administrators to move code from one branch to other branch without a pull request mechanism. not for the developers. Okay. Okay, guys.
Yeah.
Okay. So what we do tomorrow, we'll make a couple of changes in branches, and I will show you how to use a cherry pick to move the code across all these different branches, so that the developers will not get into regression issues in different releases, basically regression bugs basically. Okay. So I'll stop it for here for today. You also go through this video. If you watch one more time, right, it will clearly get into your thought process basically. Okay. Scenarios are important. Okay, guys. Tomorrow we'll catch up and uh, work on some other important operations that you can use across all these maintenance of branches basically. Okay. After that, we can move on to CI, continuous integration. Okay.
Okay. Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. It may look some confusing, but once you watch it or read it for one or two times, that's it. You don't need to go back anytime in future basically. Okay. Thank you.